Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Project Unknown. Today I have Haley Michelle, known as the Paranormal Princess, to the TikTok world, and I'm assuming Instagram world as well.
Yes, of course.
So what brought you into this field? What did you do before this field? And how did you get the name Paranormal Princess? So a lot of stuff I got to ask up front,
Yeah.
but let's just get it rolling.
Well, I jumped in the field pretty much, I don't know how to say it. It was just brought upon me. I didn't go searching for it. I'm a psychic medium, and I've been able to see spirits since I've been in the crib. My first paranormal experience was when I was in a crib, and I saw around 1920s styled spirits in police uniforms standing next to my crib laughing at me. And I knew they weren't from this time period. I mean, I'm saying crib, you know.
Like you remember this from?
I remember looking up at them while I was in my crib, and they were pointing and laughing at me.
I can't remember what I ate for breakfast this morning.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was so traumatizing that I'll just never forget it. That's the first time.
Okay. I mean, did you sleep in the crib after that? Or, I mean, you really didn't have a choice, I'm assuming.
So funny, I just kept going on with my life like that never happened until I just started seeing them throughout my house, and they appeared so real to me. I would follow them around and they would go into doors, and I'm like, okay. And they would kind of mimic my mom. I thought I was following her, but it wasn't her. Yeah.
Okay.
That was pretty interesting. I was skipping merrily behind someone I thought was my mom. I thought she was going to go downstairs to do laundry. She went right through the door. And then I found out I was probably 8 years old, maybe 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
That I was terrified of the of the dark back then. At that age, everyone has their grandparents' basement or a story about a grandparents' basement or an attic.
Yeah.
And my grandparents' house, I would not go down in the basement at that age by myself. So good for you.
Well, I did kind of freeze at the door when the spirit went through it. I'm taken back and trying to figure out what happened in my mind. And then I realized she was in the bathroom. So she obviously wasn't walking through doors. And I told her that story, and she said it must have been my grandma that I followed.
Oh. So does your mom have these gifts too?
I believe she has the gifts, but she'll talk about things here and there, but she doesn't really like to. She's on here right now, probably.
Okay.
Hi, Mom. She doesn't really like to admit about it. You know what I mean? She will here and there. She'll be like, yeah, last night I heard the doorknob to the bedroom that's shut just rattling, and she'd be home alone, and she'd tell me that stuff just so calmly, and I'm like, if I was home alone, I'd freak out if the back bedroom door was just shaking on its own.
Yeah, I actually I know you're still telling the story of up to today, but just to add to the bedroom door thing, I brought the story up on a previous podcast that I do remember. I think I was 4 or 5. I was laying in my parents' bed and I woke up in the middle of the night, and those dreams that you still can't shake if they were real or not.
Yeah.
So I woke up and it looked like Slimer, but in skeleton form, like Slimer from Ghostbusters, like a glowing green, looking into my parents' room, walked away. That was it. And I went back to sleep. And to this day, I think about it and I'm like, was that real? Or was that just because I was a Ghostbusters fan or what? But it just felt like real. And there's been other instances with pets and stuff like that. And it's weird when you can't figure out the difference of, hey, was I dreaming or did I actually witness this?
Right. And sometimes I would say that you did witness it, but your mind is like, there's no possible way. And it's like, okay, maybe it was a dream, but I think you probably did see something with your own eyes, not dreaming.
Yeah, I love it. So I had an adult Slimer in my house.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me of a horrible nightmare that I had as a child that I felt was so real, just literally in my street. And it's funny that the Little Mermaid movie's out now, but Ursula, saw her. I never had a fear of Ursula or anything, but she was 20 feet tall and she was just coming around the corner and it was all black outside. And she was coming through the trees. And I'll never forget that. The randomest Ursula, are you kidding me?
So my reoccurring nightmare was always when you look outside in a storm and somebody's standing in the distance where you only see the silhouette and everything. I don't know what it was about that. I think every horror movie in the 70s and 80s had a scene like that. For me, that's what it was. But I just remember, during storms and lightning and stuff like that, a kid, again, afraid of everything when I was younger, that I'm like, I'm not looking out the window. I'm not going in the basement. I have a freaking green ghost going around this house. So, growing up with it, what made you realize that you wanted to pursue it a little more? And what age do you think you were at when you're like, you know what, I really want to understand this, I should say?
I believe I was in middle school, about 6th grade, and I would have friends come over and I would take them into the basement and we would do ghost hunting. And it was my idea. And I'd be like, let's go, let's find the ghosts. And I would at first I used to just scare them, just trying to trick them. Like I would have a remote and the remote to the TV in my pocket, and I would turn it on and scare them. But then things started really happening. I'm like, I don't have a remote for that. Something's really going down. And as 7th grade hit and 8th grade, my friends were like, we're not going to Haley's house. It's haunted. So just taking them down there and ghost hunting with them. And that's when I realized this is going to be in my life probably forever. And it was definitely something I brought up even in school or with friends. And now when now that I'm older, they'd be like, Haley, you were always into this.
And it's crazy how it works, because I knew people way back when that their houses were haunted or stuff was happening. And again, I'm going to go right back to it. Afraid of everything. To this day, what's sitting next to you, which we'll touch on later, I'm still terrified of.
You're just waiting for her to move.
Yeah, I'm not watching you. I'm watching her. So it's, beyond middle school, when would you say you did your first actual investigation, like outside of the house, going, whether it's a residence or a business or whatever it may be?
I was 18 years old and I started working on a project in a show for Fox, and it was called Tri-State Paranormal. It didn't really pull through, wasn't my doing, but we got to travel around and start investigating in places. We got into some, did you hear that?
That wasn't you?
No.
Okay. She didn't move, so we're good there.
I don't know. That was weird. We got into some prisons and we were traveling in Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana. And we also did a lot of residences, but this was with all the latest and greatest, paranormal investigation tools and cameras and all how I learned how to start doing this stuff.
Yeah.
18 years old, and I'm about to be 30 this year.
Well, happy early birthday.
Thank you. I know, 30.
So those of you that are making comments and everything, we can't see all of your names. Sometimes it just says Facebook user. But when you brought up the show, somebody said they love the show.
Well, there are some episodes on YouTube still.
Oh, there are?
Yes.
So I think after this podcast, you need to share some on the cross country page so people can check them out.
I'll have to do some digging around. I know I can instantly find the trailer to it. So I'll for sure be able to find that, then search for some good episodes.
Awesome.
It was so crazy. I don't know. It's so weird to watch that and go back and watch that. And when they threw me down in the basement by myself and just my expressions and all that, it's wild.
So what would you say in comparison to 18? What was your favorite moment/location back then? And now that you've gotten more experience, gotten older in the field and everything, where would you say your favorite location/memory is now?
When I was 18, I did an investigation at a man's home who lived in the 40s, and he actually killed his dog and then killed himself. He was very lonely and had no more family left, and he wanted to kill himself but didn't want to leave his dog behind. So he killed his dog, buried him in the front yard, and then killed himself in the house. I started connecting with him. That was the first real strong communication where I felt like a spirit was really coming through. Like he wanted to, tell his story. And the smell of the cologne and the cigars in this just empty abandoned house just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I couldn't even believe, that was just another sense that was coming through, and I couldn't believe it. So that connection was very amazing to me. I believe it is the connections I make doing these investigations. I just did one for a TV show I'm working on now. So from then to now, it was at an opera house, and a little boy accidentally got shot in 1923. And we just investigated. It's been 100 years later, and he died in that opera house at 7 years old. And he was communicating with me and playing around and joking and pulling my hair. And he was having a grand old time, just scaring me.
How come I feel like that story rings a bell? Like I've heard of that before. I don't know what opera house, but I feel like I've heard the story of a child getting shot either in a theater or an opera house, however they referred to it in the story. Are you allowed to tell us the location or no?
I think I can tell you the location, but I can't really go too much into detail yet.
That's fine.
I think it's in Lewisonville, Indiana. And it's
not the one I heard of then, but okay. I am still interested in the location.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it before I went in, and I went in and was like, okay, I'm seeing all red. Like all I'm seeing is red. And I went in and the seats were blue, and I'm like, man, that really sucks. And I start kind of talking, and they're like, yeah, we just got these new chairs. I'm like, what color were they before? Oh, red. This burgundy red color. I'm like, there it is.
So that's awesome. You saw the echo of what it was before.
Yes, it was intense. And then one more thing I have to mention. This was crazy. There was a really nice gentleman there who was kind of giving us a tour, and I think he owns it now or something. And I get close to telling you like secret names of it, but he brought me a photo and it was turned upside down. And we'll call him Mr. Smith. Okay. I said, is that Mr. Smith? And he was bringing it to me, and he kind of froze. And I said, and his wife? And he turned it around. It was Mr. Smith and his wife, like 100 years ago in their picture. And it was just, I was connecting at that place more than I've ever connected anywhere. And everybody was in shock. They couldn't even believe what I was saying. Like, I couldn't believe what I was saying. It was like they all came out to like, I need help. I want to tell you. And this one EVP, I'm like giving so many sneak peeks, but this one EVP that we heard was insane. It was an old man's voice, and it said, help me, I think I'm dead. And it was clear. I get chills even hearing, like thinking of that. Literally, help me, I think I'm dead.
And we'll be able to see this one day.
Yes. It's on the TV show called Ghosted, where I'm one of the lead paranormal investigators with Corbin Bentley, the celebrity ghost hunter. And we're ghosted. We're stranded. We get stranded somewhere. We're ghosted. So all this should be the 10 episodes will be finished by spooky season in September or October.
And it will like finish to air or just finish producing and everything?
Yeah, ready to air.
Okay. Now, have you ever been to a location, because it sounds like a lot of your abilities are picking up on feelings and everything as well. Have you ever been somewhere that was so overwhelming that you needed to walk out or kind of recompose yourself?
Oh, yeah. That was with another group I'm with called the Ghost Hunter Girls. And we went to the Old Park Hotel in Texas.
Oh, I've heard of that place. I haven't. So I like going into places blind. So I don't look up too much history outside of, what we can't avoid seeing online and everything.
Right.
But based on your investigation there, is that somewhere that's very devastating in its history and everything?
It is. It had a lot going on. Suicides and I think brothels and all kinds of things like that. I remember going into this closet and they're like, what do you feel? And I'm like, and I started choking and coughing, and they're like, this is where she hung herself. And I'm like, oh, that explains it. Yeah, that was so overwhelming that I was starting to feel sick and stuff. And I had to walk out, and I actually had to spend the night in that building.
Oh boy.
And I was doing okay until my friend screamed and said, something pulled my foot. And I was like, great, you're going to have to get in bed with me now. I'm not sleeping by myself. So
you said brothel. Have you ever been or have any interest in going to the Dumas brothel in Montana?
Oh, I've never heard about it.
So the Dumas brothel is one of the most haunted places, if not the most haunted place in Montana. And it's where all the miners went. And the basement is where a lot of the beatings, the murders, the no-tell stuff would happen. And there was actually a tunnel that led into the basement, so the miners would never have to show themselves to the public. They could just walk through the tunnel, do their thing, and leave.
Jeez.
So I've investigated there 2 or 3 times. I can't remember, 2 or 3 times. And there was one time where a resident investigator had to actually leave halfway through the night. He got so angry and wanted to charge me and everything. He's like, I just need to leave. And me, I'm goofy. So when he's telling me this stuff, I'm like, do you want a hug? Like, do you want, I don't know. But there was another time in the basement there that we were doing a spirit box session and asked, what did you do here? And a man's voice came through and said, sex. Okay, that makes sense. And then a second later, a woman's moan audibly came from the hallway. Jeez. And in the video, I look like a freaking deer in headlights because it was kind of that like wheel spinning of, did I just hear that?
Yeah.
And then I reacted. But it's, these Wild West towns and the stuff that's probably happened at the old park and in Butte, Montana and everything. Those are usually the heavier locations. There's been some random ones that I've been to that I'm like, I really don't like this area. I need to go to a different floor outside of the building for a little bit. But the Dumas brothel is one of those places where it's like, you know what? I'm always going to have a +1 here because I can't do solo.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'd definitely be interested in that. I feel like as the show's been going on, we have been going to a lot of places that were brothels, and some of the best evidence we captured there was from the rooms that happened in.
Yeah. And there's a lot of no-tell stuff, and they want to tell their story now.
Yeah. I captured an amazing spirit box session, and I said, what did you do in here? And the spirit box said, she lied on the bed.
Oh.
Yeah, it was so clear. I think I have a video of it on my Instagram, and my face is like, because I couldn't believe it. Like, it was just like that, like responding intelligently. So that was crazy.
So sidetracking a little bit, because I'm seeing somebody ask in the comments, what's up with the doll?
This is Eloise. She's one of my haunted dolls. I collect haunted dolls, but she is definitely, I don't like to say I have favorites, but she is, of course. She's one of my oldest ones. I've had her for so long, I don't even remember how I acquired her. But okay. She is most requested to be seen on my channels and everything as well. So I thought she'd like to watch. And I've been feeling her move when I had my arm here. That's why I kind of looked over.
Yeah, I was wondering why you're kind of peeking at her. And
yeah, I felt the table completely vibrating. And
yeah, if she leaps off that table or anything, again, see, people know my view with dolls, Ben, it's going to be okay. No, it's not. If that doll moves, this is over. So what is it with dolls? So for me, everyone knows I'm terrified of them, but what attracts you to them? And what did you say her name was? Eloise?
Mm-hmm.
So like the asylum, Eloise?
I don't know about that either.
Oh boy, we'll touch on that after. So that might make her angry. But what does she do, and what drew you to haunted dolls?
Well, I've always had a thing for dolls, like growing up, and it kind of never went away. I mean, I was even made fun in school as I got older, still loving dolls. So just, I don't know. It's like you're talking to someone, but they can't hear you. But then when I found out about like learning more about haunted dolls, I felt like if I was talking to them, they were hearing me. I do investigations when people give me dolls and they believe they're haunted, and I will do a bunch of tests to see. I will have them for a while and I'll send them back to them if they are. I even sell them. But Eloise, definitely one of my first haunted dolls I got, one of the oldest. She is, I believe, between the age of 12 and 19 years old. And she's like seriously soft and kind. Like, I can't even explain her. You almost feel fuzzy when you see her. I know that's weird because
I don't, but
I know. But people feel things when they look in her eyes. Look how old she appears.
Yeah. I'm gonna have nightmares tonight. And you're gonna get a message in the middle of the night.
People want to hold her when they see her and stuff. And I've taken her to meet and greets, and people say, wow, I can feel a certain way when I hold her, and everyone says a different feeling. Like, she puts off a different feeling for everybody that holds her. I've caught multiple things, EVPs, spirit box sessions, and one time she even went missing from my home. Like, she moved herself, and I couldn't find her for a long time.
Okay.
That was the weirdest thing that's ever happened. Like, that's when I'm like 100% positive, you know, after the EVPs and everything. I'm like, okay, she's haunted, because it's just me and my husband here, no kids, nothing, and gone.
How many dolls do you have?
I have about, I would say probably 30.
Oh my God.
But I have an extra like 15 that I don't count because they are haunted, but I'm selling them. I sell them to my followers, fans, and all that who want to start their own haunted doll collection.
So for everyone watching this and watching this on replay, you now know where to find a haunted doll. If you send them to me, I will ban you from any investigation that I do. No. I wasn't saying you, I was saying anyone else on here, the ones that know my fear of them. So how did you get the nickname? You know, you've had all these different experiences, you know, dolls and your investigations from 18 and the stories you have pre being 18. How did you get the name the Paranormal Princess? Was that something tagged from the TV show, or did somebody say it one day and you're like, I like it?
Well, it started being said on TikTok. People were commenting that there's the Paranormal Princess. There's my Paranormal Princess on TikTok and in the comments. And I've been trying to come up with a name for myself for a long time. And I was like, that's it. But the reason why that's it is because, of course, I'm paranormal. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
But what you don't know is that I'm a party princess owner. I play princesses on the weekends. So I'm actually in my princess room right now, full of Elsa, Anna, Cinderella, Belle, Barbie, Ariel, all of them, all the costumes in here.
Wow.
And I do children's birthday parties, so they know I play princess. And I'm girly and sweet, but also like the spooky and creepy. So put it together. I
did see your picture of you dressed as Elsa. So when you go to kids' parties and everything, do you sing? Do you, just...
Yep. Wow. So I either get booked for the 30 minutes or the hour, and they both are kind of different things, but you go in and do the meet and greet. I'm in full character. I speak to the kids as Elsa and give them that magic. A lot of parents can't afford to take their kids to Disney.
Right.
I make it an affordable way that they can have a character at their home. I'll take pictures with them. I'll help them open their birthday gifts. I'll sing happy birthday, of course. I'll teach princess lessons, and I'll do coronations where they get their own crown and some fairy godmother's magic dust.
That is bipolar opposite of your other lifestyle of paranormal, but it's a very kind thing. And that's amazing. So, doing things to make kids happy, whether it's something small or a weekend or a day, it's always a nice thing to do. Yeah. I actually have a few locations that I've investigated because I'm not going to dress up as princess. I couldn't pull it off. But if they are kid-friendly locations, I will bring, teammates' kids or guest kids that want to see a haunted location, and we'll do like a mini investigation during the day. Yeah. But again, it's based on the location. I'm not going to bring them to a formal brothel, but I will bring them to like a haunted house, like a mansion or anything like that. Yeah. But seeing them light up and everything's always a great feeling. And I'm going to bounce around a lot because I'm picking up certain things you're saying. And we have to go back to Eloise real quick. I'm still watching her. So if I'm looking at the side of the screen, that's why. Okay. But there is an asylum in Michigan called Eloise Asylum, and it's recent with opening up for investigations. And I actually will be there next week investigating, and it was a very, very dark place. There were people that sneaked into there years ago, and things would follow them home. Like they would take a picture at the asylum, and then when they get home, they would take a picture like of something in their room, and the face would appear in their room that they saw at the asylum. But again, you're sneaking in, you don't know what you're doing, you're messing with things you shouldn't mess with. But just when you said Eloise, I'm like, well, that's weird because I knew nothing about your doll collection, and I just planned the investigation for this a couple days ago.
And I could have chose any of my 30 plus haunted dolls to put here, but I chose Eloise.
But you said choose your favorite.
She is kind of.
And so, you said about making it more affordable for parents, that can't do Disney and everything. So it kind of brings me to a question that I have not talked about on this podcast in the paranormal field. There is a lot of stuff going on recently. Let's call it paradrama, with people's views, people's comments, and everybody has their own. Somebody said she blinked. Does she blink?
She does blink if you lay her back, but people do see her blink if she's just sitting still.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, she can't do that on her own. I mean, she can, but yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry, lost.
No, it's okay.
So with everything going on in the field, it seems like it's a cutthroat business now, when at the end of the day, we're all doing the same thing. We just want answers. We want to enjoy ourselves. We want to have fun doing it. But the most recent I've seen, and I don't know if you've seen anything like that, is the amount of money certain locations charge to investigate, whether it's a private investigation, a public investigation, or filming. That there's locations that might charge $1,000 for a private, but the moment you say you want to film, it goes up to $5,000. So is that something that you've seen in the field for a long time, or do you think the more popular this field is getting, that certain locations are trying to take advantage of that? And I'm not going to bash any locations on here. I'm not going to bash any owners. Just this is a broad statement.
Yeah, I definitely think that since it's getting more popular, I mean, I remember back in the day we could get in for free and, film around and stuff for free. But yeah, now that's more popular, they're pushing it up hardcore. And that's why it's been really hard for my Ghosted TV show, because we're not really making much right now doing this. So we can't put a lot into locations. So we have to try to find other places that will work with us.
Yeah.
But it's been extremely hard. And then also, I don't know if you've seen this drama where they're like, well, I'm sorry to say this, but we only go with like celebrities.
Oh, wait. I remember the exact quote.
I can't.
Established networks.
Yep. I've seen a couple posts within a couple days of just that.
And I've actually seen it with more than one location. So it started out with
Me
one.
too.
And again, we're not going to say it, but you and I both know which one.
I think so, yeah.
But then it's starting to come to light a few others that are like that as well. And I will say with a certain location that I had a very similar interaction like that. The one you and I are pretty much referring to.
Yeah.
That I called a few years ago and asked about holding a public event there. Not even filming. Well, I mean, our investigation filming, but doing something where people can come and I supply all of the gear to allow them to investigate, and they just need to show up. So just a nutshell real quick. I know a lot of people on here have investigated with me, but what Cross Country Paranormal does is we provide all the equipment, all of the training, whatever you may need. We really aim towards the newbies and the ones that really don't have the money to get the equipment to do their own things. Yeah. And we try and keep things more intimate, where if a location recommends 30 people max, we'll bring in like 15. Because we want them to have that experience. You bring 30 people into a 30 people location, it's not going to be a good night.
Yeah.
So I called this location, and instantly, the moment I mentioned public event, that it went from $1,000 to $2,500. And how can you get that split up evenly with people for people to afford it? Right. And then it got so frustrating, I may have hung up the phone in the middle of the conversation.
I would definitely do that too.
So it's I didn't really realize how bad it was with certain locations, not just one, but multiple that I'm starting to see with that. I mean, and here's one I will mention, because this is no hidden drama. All of the stuff that happened at Waverly over the past 5-10 years. With the previous owners and the historical society and stuff like that, I don't know who's right. I don't know who's wrong. I don't really care. But that caused so much friction and issues with people being able to investigate there that It's just kind of been a bad imprint in the field.
Yeah.
And now that people can't afford a lot now, and it's nothing, you know, the world's expensive. Heck, you can't buy a gallon of milk for $6 now.
Yeah.
That locations are going to start losing business. And I don't think owners realize that.
Oh, that's so true.
So with your show, I know you can't give away too much, but let me ask this, because I know you've networked with locations and even outside of your show with what you do.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the best locations you would recommend for somebody newer in the field or somebody looking not to break the bank?
Well, I did an investigation at Indiana State Sanitarium, and that was a really, really amazing thing. The thing is, I feel like it was with a paranormal, not like a paranormal group, but a paranormal, like I don't know how to explain it. Like they go around and they teach you about the equipment and how to, you know, search for.
It's similar to what I do.
Okay,
Like,
yeah, that's when you
yeah.
were explaining it. I'm like, okay, well, that's what they were doing, and they made it affordable for people. It would probably be like $100, but for the whole night, you know, with snacks and stuff included. And they actually took you around and they taught you about different investigation tools, and then they let you on your own for till the morning time, till 6 a.m.
Yep.
Indiana State Sanitarium was really amazing. When you're even, they open those gates and you're heading down that long, it was like the Green Mile, like, you know, the green, that's what I keep thinking of, but it was so chilling because everything was left there as if, you know, no
They
one
just
came
got
in.
up and left.
Right. Paperworks and pill bottles, and you walk into downstairs in a different nurse's station and you smell like the alcohol wipes, and like it's like, oh my gosh. And some of the rooms that have just like the pictures hanging on the walls and the VHS tapes just kind of lined up, and you're stepping into a whole nother time. And it's so fun to explore. Even my husband was kind of like, oh, it's so late, and I don't like, even before we got there, like, it's so late and I'm just tired and I don't really want to do that. It was hard to pull him out of there. Like, he wanted to keep doing it. It was so fun.
That's awesome. That I actually haven't been there, so it's nice to hear about it.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It was super spooky and cool. It would probably been better if it wasn't like 5 degrees.
Yes,
I was freezing so bad. But I remember finding some of the coolest stuff in there. I'm like, I want this so bad. I think earlier I told you I love Goosebumps.
yes.
And I found a like 1996 Slappy pillow, the dummy Slappy, and it was a pillow. And I took pictures with it. I took videos because I was like, I have to show this off because I can't have it. But I wanted it so bad because it was so amazing. Just like the random stuff I'd find, I was like, this is so neat.
So there's actually a location in Ohio, which I'll tell you about after the show, but they had a library with books from the early 1900s onto current. These people, it's like one of those giving boxes you see where take a book, leave a book.
Yeah.
So investigators do that, where they'll take a book, leave a book. But just looking through, there were books from 1901 dated in there. And the resident investigator there was like, yeah, if you want to take any of them, go ahead. What? Yeah, go ahead. And you see everything from the 1901 one to, like, as you said, Goosebumps, to like a 1995 Goosebumps novel.
Yeah.
But you know, this location is not as well known as Monroe House and Waverly and Trans Allegheny, but it was probably one of the most active locations I've been to. And it was the first time I ever heard a doll giggle. She is blinking again.
When you said giggle, I felt like she was interacting with that. I could feel her interacting. Did you see her blink, or did someone else say it?
Somebody else saw her blink. I got caught up in my story. Now I'm going to be hyper focused. But I walked into this room that's set up, and they had a haunted doll in the room. And as soon as I walked in, I hear hee hee. I'm like, what? And the person with me setting up, I'm like, did you hear that? And then she did it again. I'm like, wow. Oh boy. I maybe stayed at the closest I got was about 20 feet to that doll.
I feel like I'm done now.
It's, you know, I go to locations and there's every single one of them has dolls now. It's doll rooms or haunted dolls. And I'm just like, no.
Right. Anytime I go to a location, they're like, Haley, you're gonna love it. They have a doll room. Like every time. Like they have a doll in that room, Haley.
See, give me a demon. I'll take a demon over a doll at this point. Right. So what is your belief? And I like asking people this. I do think the word demon and possession and stuff like that is thrown out a lot. So what is your belief? Do you think there are that many evil spirits out there in these locations? Or do you think sometimes it's blown out of proportion to gauge interest into the locations?
I definitely feel like it's blown out of proportion. I've been to places where they're like, oh, I heard growling. Oh, I got scratched. And I'm just waiting around like, where is this? Like, I'm not like saying that didn't happen to you, but usually I can feel it. I can sense it, feel it, sometimes even smell it. Like, it's weird. Like, it's a really foul smell. And I'm kind of waiting around and there's nothing happening. But here and there, of course, yes, there's evil presence, demon, whatever. But yeah, I feel like that's nice to throw that in there. Like, besides all Mr. Rogers' ghost over here, you know?
I would love to come across Mr. Rogers' ghost.
Me too.
I don't think I'd ever leave the location. I'd try and give him a hug.
Me too.
So
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to tell you, because we're talking about celebrity ghost. I did have an interaction with a celebrity ghost before, and I believe 2 of them. Marilyn Monroe. I was outside her home where she died. I couldn't get in, of course. There was a gate up. I stood exactly where she stood. In pictures, I would see where she'd stand right in that front gate area. And I stood right there, and I was doing a TikTok, and my friend was filming, and I was just talking about her. And then I felt on my side of my head, like a push back in my hair. And I said, that was Marilyn Monroe right there. Right there. She touched the side of my head. It was unreal. Like, there was no question about it. It's almost like if I already knew her before, and she just kind of came by and said hello. And it was a really quick interaction. But I know she's there. Many people say that her spirit is still at that home. And even her dog's spirit that she had before she died. That was her, and I know it. I filmed right after. I'm like, Marilyn Monroe just touched, I've been to her grave many, many times, stood next to it, and people actually asked me to stand next to it, and they took a picture, and they were like, wow, you look like Marilyn's spirit just came out and just is standing next to her grave. So I feel like there's a connection there. I don't know what, but there is.
Hey, I mean, it's Marilyn Monroe. I wouldn't complain.
Right. And this one's really weird. I don't have any remembrance of it, but this is something my mom told me, but she wouldn't make this up. Like I said, she doesn't care to talk about spirits or anything. I used to jibber when I was little, talk, and my mom would be like, Haley, who are you talking to? And I said, I'm talking to Elvis. As a tiny little kid, not knowing who Elvis was, he obviously was not alive when I was around.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm talking to Elvis. And as I think another time I was with her, she told me something else, and I was like, whoa. And I put them together. She found out she was pregnant with me in Graceland when she was at Elvis's home.
Oh.
So there's a connection right there. And ready for this? My mom's birthday is the same as Elvis Presley's.
That's
not the year, cool. Of course, but
I mean, yeah, but it's still kind of cool.
Right. All those little connections there. I wish I could remember. I don't remember speaking to Elvis or anything like that, but she wouldn't make that up. And I don't know why I would just say that as like a two-year-old.
Well, kids, and I'm sure you know this, especially working with kids, that they're much more open and receptive to stuff than we are as adults. Being in the field, our minds are a little more open because we do this all the time. But, when you're a kid, you don't know the difference between someone living and someone who's passed away. You just, hey, here's my friend.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes it's terrifying. my little brother years ago woke up in the middle of the night, sleeping in my parents' bed, different bedroom this time. It wasn't the green glow Slimer.
Yeah.
And he woke up and he said, "Mom, who's that man?" And she's freaking out, like, what? She's looking out the window. She's looking in the mirror, thinking like somebody's looking in. And he goes, "No, that man." And he points to the ceiling. And then he goes, "Oh, he has a tail." And he goes, "Oh, he's moving." And he moves his finger to the crucifix on the wall. And then he goes, "He's gone." And he rolls over and goes back to sleep.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So two things. I don't think my mom slept that night. And I didn't sleep for about a week. I'm like, I don't want to know any of this stuff that's in our house. And just to throw out there too, I told you I grew up afraid of everything. That getting in the field was me looking at it as I want to find something before something finds me.
Right.
So that's really what started it is, you know what, if I go looking for it and find it, I'm not going to run away. But if I wake up in the middle of the night and there's a little girl with long hair standing at the end of my bed, I'm going to die. Like,
oh my God. Well, your fear is my reality. I would have spirits sitting on the end of my bed and I would stretch my legs out and I could feel them sitting there.
Yeah. I wouldn't be here. I would have been gone. Like
I felt so okay about it though. I don't know who was sitting there. I didn't move. I mean, I didn't like freak out or anything. I felt them, but I felt safe about it.
So do you believe that spirits, I was always told this growing up. If a spirit wants you to be afraid, they will find a way to pull fear out of you. But if you don't have a reason to fear them, you won't be afraid when they're there. If that makes any sense.
It
what
does.
are your beliefs on that?
I don't like, I'm not trying to talk down about what you heard or anything. I just don't believe that at all. I believe there's still, I don't know, besides the evil demon, other things. I don't believe that. I feel like they kind of put off the energy they do as if we do. Like if I'm angry, I'm going to be rude and you're going to be like, dang, she's moody.
Chris.
I feel like they give those same moods. I don't feel like they care enough to try to, unless they're evil, to pull fear out of you or, freak you out or anything like that. That's just how I feel in my experiences.
Yeah. And it makes sense. And as we experience on it. And I think with the fear aspect that it's more so of the setting you're in as well. So if you see a spirit in the comfort of your own home, your brain might logically connect it to something that's familiar. But if you are walking around an abandoned asylum in the middle of the night and you see a woman in white walk across the hallway, your first reaction might not be, "Oh, she's cute."
Right.
Have you seen outside of the ability aspect, because you grew up with this? Have you seen or ever captured on camera a full body apparition?
Huh.
And it might be hard to just, I don't want to say this in a rude way, but I know since you're used to seeing them,
right?
Is it, or have you ever been with anyone who saw it that you did not see?
No, I've never had the second thing. No, it's usually me that's seeing it, or they will think they see something, I guess. And I'm not really seeing that. But I don't know. I have so much random evidence of stuff. I'm trying to think. I've definitely captured faces. Like you can see like eyes, nose, mouth, ears, everything like that. But I don't think I've ever captured like a full on out body.
So
but definitely a goal.
The two full bodies I've seen, and this is in 16 years, so we know certain things don't happen often. I saw the woman in white at Waverly, which, I was able to cross-reference with a handful of people that seen her there. And there's actually a picture of her floating around from like the late 90s that somebody captured, where they found an old photograph of her, connected it to what they captured on film. And when I saw it, I'm like, oh my God, that's her.
Yeah.
And then I saw and I think it was My Fear. I don't know what it's called, but when something is created out of emotion, where if a lot of people like believe it or you give it the energy, it can create itself.
I know what you're saying, but yeah, I can't.
I went to a hospital in Tennessee, and I was investigating down this hallway, and in my head, I don't know what it was, something was telling me there's a little girl in this room, and she's gonna look like the girl from The Grudge, and I'm gonna cry. And it just overwhelming, like, she's there. I know she's there.
Yeah.
And I walked away. I'm like, I can't stand down here anymore. I went to the other end of the hall, and I sent one of my friends down there. Like, I'm not going to tell you anything. Just go down there and tell me what you feel. Tell me what you see. He goes down there, and he comes back laughing. And as he's walking back, a girl, maybe 4 foot something, in a white gown, long dark hair, walks across the hallway into the room that I said, I know there's something in there.
Yeah.
And I'm on camera reacting. It was a very fun reaction. But when he came back, he's like, I heard a girl's voice say, I'm coming. And that's without me telling him anything on it.
Yeah.
And what's weird is I told the guides at this location about what we saw before we left. And the first thing is they're like, yeah, you're going to lock up with us because we're not walking down there by ourselves now. So we helped them lock up. But since we saw her, multiple people are seeing her now.
Oh, wow. She's coming out to play.
And they're having, one of the guys is having dreams about her. And I'm like, this is weird. Like, I'm sorry if we stirred something up. We didn't mean to.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Well,
but it's just very interesting how that stuff happens. But I couldn't imagine seeing it on every investigation or just daily, like you do.
Man, I know. And speaking of pictures, when you're talking about capturing stuff, I was going through pictures around Christmas time, and I found a picture of me as a child, and it was me at dance class lined up with a bunch of kids, and only me, there was a straight up orb right in front of me. Like, it's like, yeah, ooh, okay, the pictures, 90s quality, early 2000s quality. There was seriously about 10 kids lined up, and I'm like over here, and it's on me. And I'm like, that there's something that's evidence right there that there is something attached to me and always has been. I was 10 years old.
That was my next question. Do you feel like after everything you have seen and grew up in, that there is one or more than one spirits that are attached to you? And it, obviously, a lot of people think attachment's evil. That doesn't mean evil. We both know that. Right. But just in general, outside of Eloise over there, do you feel like there's anything that just has grown up with you or stayed with you?
Yeah, unfortunately, mine is evil, and he's an abusive ex-husband from a past life.
Oh.
And he's still with me. And I've got validation on this by many other psychic mediums, including Patty Negri. Do you know Patty?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I did a whole past life reading with her because my past life really comes to play. It's almost something I'm super fascinated with, and anything that would happen to me, I'm like, ooh, I did this in my past life. I did this, and it's all into that. So I got really into it. And yeah, so I was a famous 1920 silent film actress, and me and Patty knew each other in our past lives. She was older than me, and we didn't hate each other, but we were competitive against each other. She looked after me too. But I had a really horrible husband who didn't want me to be known or famous. And I would always say, any press is good press. And he would hate it. He'd be like, that's bad press. And I don't want you to do that. And I believe I died in his hands. I don't know if you really believe in past lives, but.
No, I do.
Okay. This is what I really believe. Well, this man has followed me into this world, and he really started coming around when I started dating, like in high school. It got worse when I got with my husband. My husband was not a super skeptic when we got together, but he didn't really fully believe. He completely believes now because that spirit made himself known. The first night he spent the night at my mom's house with me, he woke up to someone rattling. Sorry.
No, I heard it too.
Okay, there's banging around in here now.
You're talking about him.
He woke up in the middle of the night to chains rattling in the closet, and he said that it sounded like they were banging together. And I've never heard I will never unhear the way he said my name to wake me up, because he was in pure fear. I'll never not hear that, the fear in his voice. And he was like, Haley, Haley. And I heard it for a second, and I said, don't move, to him. And I don't like all the noises that are going on.
What's funny is you're talking about it, and there's nothing happens in here, and there's noises happening in the back corner of the room now. Gosh. So thank you for that.
I'll tell him he stays over here.
No, I mean,
back down to hell.
I have my own. I'll tell you about when you're done,
okay.
And so I'm not worried about the angry one.
Yeah, he'll stay over here. He's always been over here, but. So that happened, and then it got worse. We moved in here into our home together. What's really weird, okay, this is the worst thing that you'll ever hear. It was kind of sleep paralysis. It happens to me a lot. Fully aware, I'm laying in bed. I know I'm asleep, but I know I'm basically in a whole nother world. I'm in my bed. I can see my TV. I can see everything. Everything is normal, but I know, let's think of Stranger Things. I'm in the upside down.
Okay.
That is what I am in. And that when I watched Stranger Things, I said, is this all sleep paralysis? This is my sleep paralysis. This is my house, but it's the dangerous side. This man was straddling me on my stomach, and he was punching me in my face over and over again. And I can hear him go, ah, 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 ah. My eye mask was up about like this, and I can see his hands swinging. My full body was frozen from fear. I was so terrified of what was happening. And he was swinging. I couldn't feel it. I couldn't feel getting hit in the face, but just him breathing and throwing punches at my face really hard. I could see the swinging. I couldn't move to wake up Trevor. It was almost like he wasn't there, my husband. So that was extremely terrifying. And then the next day, and it mostly happens. He mostly comes around when Trevor leaves work and I go back to bed. So the next day, what happened was, it happened again, but it was brighter in the room. And I heard my husband walk to the side of the bed, and he started talking to me in a different language, but I could understand it in that moment. And I tried to lift my eye mask off, and he pushed my hand down so I wouldn't lift it up. And I believe he was apologizing to me for what he did the other night in a different language. And I just heard him walk out the door.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was almost German. I'm pretty sure.
Which, in the 1920s would make sense, especially with how many people moving to America and the silent film boom and everything.
Right. Right. I never even thought about that.
So we got a few minutes left to end on a more exciting, fun story. Just terrifying is, my attachment in layman's terms, he's an asshole, but he's protective. So he only comes out when things get heavy. So at locations or whatever it may be, if something is trying to poke and pry, is when he comes through. There are a number of people that I've investigated with, some watching this tonight, that have heard him because he is very vocal in his spirit box. There are certain words that lets me know it's him. But also there are times where I will actually call on him, be like, I need you to get me answers. When it is something heavier and I want answers to understand what it is, I will call on mine and be like, can you find out for me? And then you'll hear two voices coming through the spirit box. What did she do?
Oh, she touched the back of my arm.
Oh. So is she protective of you?
I think so. I do. I feel like it's kind of more of like a sister energy than like an older, type thing, but kind of playful and silly too. I felt her run her fingers up the back of my arm when you're talking about that.
Well, that could be a comfort thing.
Right. That's true.
So, for everyone on here, and this is what I want to end with, because, there's a lot of people, when I found you, you have a lot of followers and everything. Anyone who wants to follow you and your future endeavors, what can they find you on and how can they find you?
Well, I'm on TikTok and Instagram mostly. Miss Haley Michelle, MISS. And I just started a TikTok. I heard that. Was that chains? That sounded like chains rattling.
I'm going to ignore it. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so that kind of spaced my mind out and everything. I have a Facebook page now. It's the Paranormal Princess, Miss Haley Michelle page. So if you check that out, that'd be great.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask a favor. And, if you want to share some of your old show stuff we were talking about on the page, and then also if you want to make a post with your links, you're more than welcome to. So anyone who wants to follow you and find you and hear more of your stories and see what you have upcoming, that they can find you. And I do actually, one thing I want to end with, because I forgot to ask. Yeah. I saw your Taco Bell thing. How did that come about? Let's end with that. How did that come about?
How they asked me to be a partner with them for that day. They got a hold of me a couple days before and told me that no one else knows this besides the workers, that they're giving away free tacos, and they want me to let people know that day. So I got my free taco and went in there and paid me a little something to do that. So
that's awesome.
That was a fun collaboration. I'll say that for sure.
You got a free taco. I mean, why not?
Heck yeah.
So I really appreciate you coming on the show. Yeah. And I look forward to potentially investigating with you in the future when we both have time. Yes. And love the shirt, by the way. I'm glad it fits.
Thank you. I'm rocking it.
And thank you for everyone else who's been on here. And I will talk to you backstage.
All right.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
I was reading the comments.